Titanic was never supposed to sink. It was called Unsinkable, a ship designed to challenge the limits of nature itself. But what if everything we know about it isn't the full story? What if the disaster wasn't just an accident, but a result of human decisions? In 1912, the Titanic disaster became one of the deadliest tragedies in history. A ship built with the most advanced technology of its time disappeared beneath the ocean in just a few hours. More than 2,200 people stepped on board with hope and excitement, but only a fraction would survive. The Titanic was a symbol of luxury, power, and progress. But behind that image were critical flaws. There were over 2,200 people on board, but lifeboats for barely half of them. Not because there wasn't space, but because safety rules were outdated and too many lifeboats were believed to affect the ship's appearance. That night, the ocean was calm, almost silent. But danger was already ahead. Multiple warnings had been sent. Icebergs directly in Titanic's path. Yet many of those warnings were not acted on in time. Nearby, another ship waited in the same icy waters. The SS Californian, just miles away. Close enough to see signals in the night sky. Close enough to make a difference. But no rescue came in time. And then, things become even more mysterious. Some powerful figures who were expected to travel canceled their journey at the last moment, including J.P. Morgan, who was connected to the company behind the ship. He was supposed to be on board, but never boarded. A coincidence or just timing? But here's something many people don't know. Before the Titanic even hit the iceberg, there was already a fire burning inside the ship. A coal fire, burning for days, possibly weakening parts of its structure. Then, at 11:40 p.m., everything changed. The iceberg struck, a moment that lasted seconds, but changed history forever. At first, the damage didn't seem catastrophic, but below the surface, water began flooding in. Panic spread across the ship. Lifeboats were lowered, many not even full. Time was lost, and so were lives. Passengers were left behind, trapped in freezing waters with no escape. The calm ocean turned into a scene of chaos. Passengers were left behind, trapped in freezing waters with no escape. The calm ocean turned into a scene of chaos and desperation. By the end of that night, over 1,500 people had lost their lives. But while the Titanic was sinking into darkness, a message had already been sent into the note. A distress call, heard by a ship far away. The RMS Carpathia was nearly 100 kilometers away when it received the signal. Its captain, Arthur Rostron, made a decision without hesitation. He ordered full speed, pushing the ship beyond its normal limits. The Carpathia cut through the freezing ocean, navigating dangerous ice fields, risking everything to reach the survivors. Crew members prepared blankets, hot drinks, and medical aid, knowing what they were about to face. Hours later, as the sun slowly rose over the Atlantic, the Carpathia finally arrived. What they saw was silence and scattered lifeboats floating in an endless sea. Survivors, cold, exhausted, clinging to what little hope remained. One by one, they were pulled aboard. Out of over 2,200 people, only around 700 survived. The Carpathia had arrived just in time to save the last remaining lives. But for many, help came too late. But before help could arrive, the Titanic was already taking its final breaths. The freezing Atlantic waters rushed in, filling the ship from below, deck by deck, room by room. At first, many didn't believe it. How could something so powerful simply disappear? But slowly, reality began to sink in. The front of the ship dipped lower, and the angle became impossible to ignore. People began to run, searching for lifeboats, searching for loved ones. Mothers held their children tightly, refusing to let go. Families were torn apart in a matter of moments. The air grew colder, the panic louder, and time painfully shorter. Some stood frozen in fear, while others fought desperately for a place on the last remaining boats. And then, there were those who knew they wouldn't make it. They chose to stay behind, helping others, even as the ship continued to sink beneath them. The lights still glowed, for a brief moment longer, as if the ship itself was refusing.
And then darkness. The Titanic broke apart and began its final descent into the ocean. The ocean that once looked calm had become a place of unimaginable pain. And as the Titanic disappeared beneath the surface, it took with it not just a ship, but thousands of hopes that would never return. That night, the world lost more than lives. It lost a piece of history and a reminder that even the greatest creations of mankind are never stronger than nature or the consequences of human decisions.